Hello, me again. Okay, so this is going to be part of your lab for this unit, and we're going to do the blood cells. This will be pretty short. There's not a whole lot to the blood cells. The other part of your lab will include the blood vessels, and that'll be a little more in depth. Okay, so blood cells. So hopefully you've already watched Introduction to Blood, so you know that we have different types of cells in our blood. We have red cells and white cells. And so the red cells are called erythrocytes, the white cells are called leukocytes, and we have 5 different types of leukocytes. So in the lab we would take a slide, we would look at a blood smear, and we would recognize and identify all of the different types of blood cells. And so these clear pink discs are the erythrocytes. These large cells are examples of white blood cells, and then what I call the trash are the platelets. So I'm going to show you some pictures of different blood cells and what you should look for. So again, the erythrocytes are going to be your red blood cells. So erythrocyte would be the answer, not RBC or red blood cell on the lab test. And they're going to be smaller. So usually on a slide, you'll be able to see a red blood cell and a white blood cell. I won't just isolate a single cell and make you guess. There'll be other things in the slide to help you figure out size and shape and color. And so the red blood cells are going to be usually a kind of a pink color, and they're usually going to be a little bit white in the middle, and that's because they're biconcave discs, and so they're a little thin in the middle, so they have that clear appearance. So they're really easy because whenever you look at a slide, it's just all the ones you see. You just see tons and tons and tons of red blood cells, so it's really not that hard. All right, so it gets a little more difficult with the white blood cells. And so the leukocytes, remember, never let monkeys eat bananas, so that's kind of your first clue when you're looking at a blood smear. If you're seeing a ton of things, it's probably a neutrophil, okay, because you have a lot of them. And then lymphocytes, and then monocytes. It's really hard to find an eosinophil and a basophil, okay? So if you just have a nice blood slide like this, here's neutrophils, never, lymphocyte, monkeys, and there's not even an eosinophil or a basophil on this slide because they're just hard to find, okay? So, but when we do find them, okay, so what do you look for? Because there's going to be some on your exam. How do you tell a neutrophil from an eosinophil from a basophil? So they're going to be about 2 times the size of a red blood cell. Okay, that's the first thing, all right? So look at that. Then look at the nucleus. If it's got a kind of what's called polymorphonuclear or multi-lobed, so this neutrophil has a multi-lobed nucleus. I should change my color. Purple's not showing up. Well, it's still purple. Still purple. There we go, blue. So if you see a multi-lobed nucleus, that's going to tell you that you're probably looking at some kind of either neutrophil or eosinophil or basophil. But the way they get their names is how they take up the dye. So neutrophils are neutral. So these dyes have red and purple in them. So you kind of put red and purple together, and it's kind of lavender. So if you see dark stained nuclei with a lavender cytoplasm and it looks a little bumpy, that's a neutrophil. The eosinophils, they take up the red portion of the dye. So they're going to be real red colored and bumpy. Remember, these are granulocytes, so they're bumpy. They have those granules in them. And eosinophils have a bilobed nucleus, like a barbell. The basophils, they take up the basic part of the dye, which is going to be kind of a blue-purple color. So they're going to be the bumpy blueberry. So it's really even hard to see the nucleus in these, but if you see something with lots of bumpy purple things, that's a basophil. So look at the size, look at the nucleus, look at the color. And again, if they're bumpy, they look kind of granular, they're granulocytes, so the only choice you have are neutrophils, basophils, and eosinophils. Now the agranulocytes, these are the ones without granules, and they don't look bumpy, okay? And so their nucleus is either going to be spherical or kidney shaped. So you're going to look again at size and nucleus shape and kind of color. All right, so again, look at a red blood cell. Lymphocytes are the same size as red blood cells, and monocytes are huge. They're even bigger than the granulocytes. So look for something that's 2 or 3 times the size of a red blood cell. So here's an example of what I'm looking at with a lymphocyte and a monocyte. So here's a red blood cell, And so this is a lymphocyte, and you can see the nucleus is about the same size as a red blood cell, and there's just a thin, kind of peeking out crown of cytoplasm, a light blue cytoplasm. It's not bumpy, so the nucleus is perfectly round. It's not polymorphonuclear like in the neutrophils, or bilobed like in the eosinophils. So it's perfectly round, and it's about the same size as a red blood cell. The monocytes have a huge nucleus, and you may say, well, it looks kind of it looks like it's got a weird shape. It sort of does, but it's generally a kidney shape. So if you see that kidney shape, and it's huge, it's really, really big, okay, it's bigger than anything else, that's a monocyte, and it has a big cytoplasm around it, and it's not bumpy, okay, no granules. All right, so big, clear cytoplasm, no bumps, that's a monocyte. If you're looking at a slide and you just go, oh, what is that? Just trash? Those are the platelets. Okay, so if you just see just small dots that are nondescript, remember thrombocytes, they break up and they form the platelets. So on this slide, what are these red discs? Those are your erythrocytes. Okay, what are these three things? Those are leukocytes. Specifically, what are they? Well, see that multi-shaped nucleus? That's a neutrophil. That's a neutrophil. This has got a kidney-shaped nucleus. That's a monocyte. And see how much bigger it is than the neutrophil? You can go online and see lots and lots of examples for practice. Here's another one. All right, so what are these? Erythrocytes. What is that? It's a lymphocyte. Got a perfectly round nucleus and a thin little peeking out area of cytoplasm. See how much bigger this one is? That's a monocyte with that kidney-shaped nucleus. All right, so that leaves these things. This one and this one are neutrophils. All right, see the color? They're that lilac color, okay, and darkly stained nuclei. You may think that looks like a monocyte, but it's not. It's a neutrophil because you can see it's bumpy. Little bumps on it. This one's more red stained, and it's got that bilobe. There's 1, 2 with a little connection in the middle. It's eosinophil, and the purple bumpy blueberry, that is your basophil. All right, so again, go online, find you some more pictures and practice, or obviously you've got in your textbook and other resources for you. That's all there is for blood. The next lab we'll talk about will be genetics, and then also blood vessels. Thank you very much.